When I hear black in tech, I'm like, oh man.
I've had like a client straight up not talk to me like I wasn't in the space.
Wow.
I've earned the right to be here, more than earned the right to be here. I've created my own blueprint and I've worked on that, and I've just stayed consistent to that.
Did you always have that passion to want to teach and to want to impact people?
I'm a big proponent of mentor-mentee relationship. I feel like there's enough space for us all, and the collaboration, I feel like we can get further working together.
What do you think people miss that's the most important way to get started on a path of financial independence?
I would say that's the biggest thing is just
Ladies and gentlemen, we got an entrepreneur, a pioneer, and a tech executive in our midst. Michelle Trail is an account executive at Oracle and also the founder of Traillionaires, the Traillionaires Foundation that helps people grow professionally as well as teaching financial literacy to youth. Michelle, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Ryan's always bringing the energy.
I see. He came in straight hot.
Yeah.
Boom.
We don't get pioneers often, and you are one of them. And I mean, how did you become an executive at Oracle? I don't know, honestly, I don't know if I've ever seen a black tech executive at Oracle.
Boom.
How? How did it happen?
It's hard. Well, first off, I started at Oracle like almost 14 years ago, 13 and a half. And so just literally my career took fold where my first job out of college, I have undergrad business management and marketing, went straight into business management, was managing a team of seven administrative staff and 30 adjunct consultants. And my mentor, he was an EVP, executive vice president. He was like, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I'm like, I want to run an organization. I'm like 23, 24, all fiery. And he's like, okay, well, if you want to run an organization, you need to know how to impact the bottom line. Ooh. And I was like, well, then what does that look like? He's like, that's sales. It's a creative position for me. So I did like the management, business operations management for like 4 years. And then they created an associate business developer. So business development is the sales world at essentially it's a career management firm. And so he created that role. I spent that year finding like the best people I knew, found a president of someone that I went to church with, sold them a deal. But it was a slower sales because you're selling executive coaching, leadership development. I was doing that back in the early 2000s.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So this has been something super important to me. And it worked. But then I knew for me to really get the experience, to be able to impact the bottom line, to be able to impact the team and take them on that type of journey, I was going to need more cycles. So I went over to ADP, that's Automatic Data Processing Technology Company, focused on automated payroll, automated HR. And so human capital management was my main thing, right? Wow. Just trying to get that into small businesses, help them like develop their people. And so they hired me even though I didn't have the experience. They wanted 3 to 5 years. I had 1. And I sold them on me. They gave me a chance. They gave me a horrible territory. And I took a diamond and took a rough and made it into a nice diamond. It was diamond in the rough. And really was just like one of their top producers, top 10% in their company year over year. So President's Club, all the things. And the manager who told the team to go ahead and give me a chance, she went to Oracle. And so when she went over there, they had put me in this leadership development program. And I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm ready to jump into leadership. I feel like I still want to be like making money, grow it more. And so I ended up over at Oracle, like 2 or 3 people referred me in. And they hired me, and there you have it. So it went from human capital management as one area of software sales to enterprise resource planning, supply chain, transportation management, product lifecycle management, customer experience, marketing, social cloud, all the things that we need to run our businesses. So I was really intrigued with the bag, right? Mm-hmm. Like having multiple things. And then in HR, you're talking to like VP of HR, CHRO wasn't getting into it, but they're starting to have like those strategic conversations, like they weren't happening as much. Back then, HR didn't have as big of a seat at the table as they do now. And so I was also getting a little like the conversation was getting mundane. So I wanted like variety. I wanted to be able to socialize with the CFOs, the CIOs, the COOs, and all the things. And that's what Oracle allowed me the opportunity to do. Went in and all she wrote.
What's the key to sales? Not even just the key to sales, but what are your keys to sales?
My keys, I'm old school relational. So that was really like the base, like knowing and understanding the customer in a way that's different beyond what they're willing to share. So I typically can get in a space with someone if we spend in more than 5 or 10 minutes. I'm going to get some more stuff out of you. And those are the things that I'm really focused on, not the things that you came to tell me. So that's one thing. And I would say the reason why like I stepped into one of my own spaces is because I've like tried my exact formula blueprint year over year, and it's landed me as like top at Oracle globally, like several years in a row. And there's like a big sales force there, and it's a billion, multi-billion-dollar company. And
Wait,
so,
what's your go-to question? That
I was
helps,
just going to say,
help somebody
what,
open up.
What are
What's
those
the
questions?
What's
yeah,
the go-to
take
question?
Us behind.
I know. So first, okay, the go-to question is for a long time was what was keeping them up at night. And that's like that standard, like, hey, what keeps you up at night? And it takes a step back because people always want to go in and sell you what they want to start talking about what they have to sell. And so I really don't even like to talk about products. Like I really want to talk about solutions. And then I want to talk about processes around those solutions. So we don't even get to the product for a minute with me in the room. So it's what keeps them up at night. How do they spend their time when they're away from here? How is that broken out, right? Then you get a feel for where's the family combined with how much work they're putting into play. And then I start really backing into some strategies because some other things start to come out. Like, what are they lacking and missing? Try to connect with them and bringing people together on things that they're missing. So I'm actually bringing some value to the space and something that they wouldn't get from just a traditional sales person, right? And then I also am led by who I'm in the room with. So I don't always have to ask the same question because something could take me to a different space. But it's still all a strategy to figure out, why are you going to spend time with me? How do I get you to trust me? How do I get you in a space where you don't mind spending time? You'll take a meeting with me because it's not painful.
Right. Yeah.
That's the goal.
What do you do when people say no in sales?
I mean, the answer is always no if you don't ask. So the standard thing is no. I'm trying to get to a no or a yes. I'm trying to get to a no and something and flip that thing around.
So what's the flip?
The flip is, what is driving the no, right? Was it money? Is it budget? Is it time? Is it capacity? Is it that we're just not a fit? And so we might not be a yes on a software, but now what if we've formed a relationship and I was able to plug you in with somebody else? And so that's where I've gotten that super connector type, because it's not always just about the sales. I have some clients that were not clients that became my friends because I was able to bring something else to the space. And then later, I might have gotten something else from someone else they know. So to me, it never really felt like a no. It might just be not right now. And that not right now could literally be things that are prohibitive, that are out of your control. And so those are not negative things. Those are like, how do we work backwards into making that be something more than what we think it should be? So it's like, we want to make some money. We want to close some deals. I'm, here to bring in what Oracle would love. My job is, I'm on the results and I'm not on a clock, right? I'm here to bring y'all dollars. How do I consistently do that in a way that honors what you guys have asked me to do and then still honor me?
So what's keeping you up at night? This isn't a sales conversation. I don't have anything to sell, but what are the things, just, as an entrepreneur, as a leader at Oracle, and all the incredible things that you're doing? And shout out to your pops, he's from Detroit. But what's keeping you up at night?
Well, what's keeping me up at night is basically creating this space of legacy and the uncomfortable space that you have to move into when it's time to shift. So I'm a comfort zone is a beautiful place where nothing grows. And it's time for me to grow again. And that makes people uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable. And so what's keeping me up at night is people seeing my world and they're like, oh, we see she likes this, she likes that. I love cars, I love fashion. all the things that people don't think, like traditional sales ladies. I don't even know what they're supposed to be, but they don't see me. I'm into watches now. I'm like into fun stuff. And then people don't see like there's ever a need. Who you are, if you've been, you guys have all been, right, in those top winner positions or being able to impact. People don't see that you have a need for a lot of things. So when you're shifting, coming to people to make those requests, they don't take those as serious because they think they've only seen you do what you do, and they don't really take your request serious. So some of the things keeping me up at night is building the legacy that I was called on the planet to be and bring. It's hard trying to raise money.
I'm
on
right
the
there
road
with
to
you.
5 million as a small number. Like I told you, one of the numbers that were like people have approached me with, like, what about this kind of fund and that? I'm like, can I just give 5 million for the foundation so it can run itself properly where exceptional is the norm, right? Building the right strategic partnerships, being an entrepreneur, coming, and I don't even know if you call it that, but having another space where you're able to do what you're on the planet to do, having people to like help you. How do people hire people? It's not the same. Like hiring people, it's like they don't consistently match like some of the things you do. So you could be paying someone and in 2 weeks, they're moving on to the next opportunity. So it's hard to actually build with, to me, the culture that we're in right now where everything is like microwave. It's like moving on to the next one, on to the next one. And so that keeps me up at night because I'll build something and then I'll see the shift that is like, I can't keep up with all the things you think I should be able to do to keep you here when I'm trying to provide like what I think is like, you know, a wonderful space. So those keep me up at night. And then when you can see something and you just are not there, but you see it, it's like that's what I'm constantly chasing is the thing that I see that I'm not there yet.
Do you get frustrated?
Yes, absolutely.
How do you handle it?
I train with Papa 5 days a week, weight train.
Okay.
I used to squat 2 1/4. I no longer. He's going to tell me that
neither.
I can't.
I do 185.
It is.
I'm not getting under a squat rack.
You're not. I know.
Stretch. This is for stretch.
I know. So not anymore. Now I'm using more just body weight and stuff. So I feel like the release there, flexologist, I go to Stretch Lab, I hit up acupuncture. So I do a lot of body care, self-care, like things to release. Like I just hate keeping stuff on me.
Yeah.
Like from that perspective. So that's the release.
One of the things you've built is the Traillionaire Foundation, and economic literacy, financial literacy is huge to Benny and I, to the three of us here. We'll get into how you started the Traillionaire Foundation, but before that, what do you think people miss the most, especially young people or people who may not think that they're making enough to invest or to be financially literate? What do you think people miss that's the most important way to get started on a path of financial independence?
I feel like it's the knowledge and the access is what's missed because like my mom was a banker. So the reason why financial piece was important, she was a banker for 21 years. She did personal banking for about 19 and did commercial the last 2 years before she transitioned to her second career, which was like in the government. And she did another 20 years there. And she just retired April 30th and moved.
Nice.
But she was big, like 9 years old, I had a bank account. She was teaching us budgeting and stuff like that. And so I had a job 9, 10 years old, babysitting and then hair braiding and stuff like that. And my parents, when I was growing up, they had me give like a percentage, like 10% back to the home. And so I feel like it kind of landed on some discipline. And my dad got that because he grew up in Detroit and they couldn't afford to pay for the 5 kids. So the kids working was to contribute to literally help pay for the bills. For us, it was more of a discipline type of act. So I feel like lacking knowledge and discipline, and then someone that is actually has the resources or has the knowledge, who's willing to show people? Because a lot of us in this space, we assume he should know, she should know. Like, I feel like that's the standard for a lot of things. And we don't know. And even still, I'm learning more. I think we have more access now than we've ever had before.
Yes.
With all of these sorts of things online. But then how do you know you're getting the right stuff? Because I'm like, people be talking about, how do you not ever pay da-da-da-da-da? I'm like, you're going to have to pay it sometime.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, lacking, and then curiosity. I want to say that's my biggest pet peeve is people lacking curiosity.
I think financial literacy, I mean, depending on how you grow up, it can mean so many different things to so many different people. I think when it comes to financial literacy, it's tough because you have to really ask yourself the tough questions. And like you just talked about, the microwave society, and you see people who have this and you want to have that, and you know you're making this amount of money, and you're like, well, I can actually afford it, but not really.
Yeah.
You know, so it's definitely tough. It's definitely tough. Did you always have that passion to want to teach and to want to impact people around that?
Not specifically just finance. I just had the passion of just wanting to help. So like I always like had a mentor probably since like high school, maybe even middle school. And then I've had mentees as long as I can remember.
Thank you.
So I love a good, like, I just love to help. And then I like to give. So it's part of like, you're either giving something, you're giving your time, your talent, your resources, cash, whatever. So I've always just like, it speaks and fills my heart as like when I'm able to give something out. So I had the passion. The financial literacy really morphed more, I would say, in like 2016, 2017, when I met AP, my financial advisor. It was a whole different game-changing conversation.
So it's like the second time I've heard that name.
Hey.
Oh,
And
Carl.
Yeah,
Carl told me.
but I've asked you also, Anthony Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all.
I don't know if I met him.
He'll be at the Clayton today.
Well,
I'll
he'll be on the
introduce
podcast in
y'all.
the future. We just,
Oh, y'all should, because he's going to be working on some stuff. He's also a part of the programming board for the financial literacy.
Well, tell us about the Traillionaire Foundation. I love the name, by the way, because
Last
anybody
name.
has a billionaire, but Traillionaire Foundation, what is it and what are you doing?
Yes. So Trail, I can't take all the credit for the name because I got married to Anthony Trail about almost 18 years ago. So it's Traillionaires.
Traillionaires.
Like,
all right, Traillionaires.
Yep,
all right.
Trail.
You thought
like-
it was Trillionaire.
I thought it was Traillionaires.
It's Trail.
It's the quick reading thing.
It is. Well, a lot of people spell it like, TRI, but it's TRAIL. The millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire mindset was what I thought of then. I was like, this will be legacy. And I grabbed the name and made an email out of it back then and just said it'll be the legacy, and let me figure out what I could do well that I can package up, present back to whoever, let someone want to buy it, and go from there. So I made the name like 17 years ago, and then I just said that this will be legacy. And then I waited over these years to figure out, okay, what am I consistently doing that's working, or what types of things do I want to bring to the space? And my marketing background is like why I could be like a little trendy with like the names or the ideas and stuff like that. So it's actually twofold. I have a for-profit and nonprofit. Traillionaires is an agency, and that's the parent. And it helps people monetize exceptional concepts and ideas. And that just really, how do you make money from what you want to do via strategy, execution, business, and sales acceleration. The nonprofit is one of the children who's here to help close the gap for people furthest from opportunity for financial literacy, self-advocacy, and career readiness. In 2016, I had $186,000 of student loan debt. And I didn't take out $186,000, but that's how much I had. That was Sally Mae, and some of those homegirls were telling me about. I saw it on the bill. I was like, oh, okay. And so in my mind, I was like, I'll never pay this off. I will just always have it because I had a 2.9% interest rate. And it just seemed like a nice, good interest rate. And I said, these are things that are essential. To me, education is essential. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be degreed education, but just education from a learning perspective. Living in a home is essential, and driving a car. Those, to me, things were things that I didn't mind having a note on. My financial advisor, he didn't like accept me at that time, accept us. He was like, what I want you to do is understand how this works. Interest is compounding daily. So I had already bought a house. I bought my first house at 23 years old. I had it built straight out of college. Thank you.
Wow.
So I came home, graduated, stayed with my parents for a year, and built the house. And so then I had put my loans in forbearance. And that's like when you start to build like a lot. Forbearance, and then just over the time, like doing private loans, not really understanding. I did my MBA as well, so that was expensive. That was my like 50, 70,000 or something like that. And then undergrad, So all these things just sit in compounding interest. So he's like, call your student loans and find out how much of your interest versus principal are being impacted. And I was like, okay. I called them jokers. It was like my monthly note was only like $257 and maybe like $234 was interest. And so my loan had grown significantly during the forbearance time because it's like it compounds daily.
Yeah, and that principal's not going down.
No, it went up. So and then I said, well, how much did I borrow? And the numbers were significantly different. So it's like I paid twice. So he was like, I want you to refi with SoFi, one of your loans. Did they do private? I think they did private. And so I refinanced the loan. And I never saw the payment going down. That's why I never wanted to do it. So I refinanced. And he's like, and I want you to be uncomfortable. He was like, your little $257, you doing that and still hitting all these dinners. Like, I want you to feel it every month when you have to write that check. So I refinanced from $254 to $989 monthly payment. But I saw it in 12 months. It went down so fast. So then he was like, once you see it go down, then that's going to motivate you to want to pay it off. And when you're in a role where you were getting commission, that means instead of going and go buy like something that I really want, I'm going to go buy the student loan payoff. So that's literally the shift. So from 2016 to 2018, that was when I first made the hit. I paid the $50K off. And then I started getting excited, and he was right. He was like, he felt good. And then he was like, investing for the interest you're paying, whatever investment you do on the average of 5, 6, 7%, he was like, you're making that go away with the amount of interest you're paying on your student loan. So he's like, so you're not winning just yet with doing it this way, unless there's a big hit. That was his strategy, but it worked. It worked for me and my mindset to shift me from never wanting to pay it off. And then after that, he let me come on in 2018. And then, it wasn't that long. I mean, it still took a few more years, but I paid the rest off.
Congratulations.
And so, thank you. So I wanted to share that. So that's where financial literacy really was like, wait, this is crucial, because what I realized is a lot of my friends, like a lot of them, they're super successful, but we're all having different conversations with money. 100%. We're all having it. And so I was like, even just with me and my husband, his family grew up like engineers with money, paid off houses. My family didn't grow up with paid off houses, but their money conversation was still different. Like, we didn't have the same, like his mom didn't teach budgeting. So he was like, budget, please. Checks is what we about to do. And I'm like, wait. No, so it's like everybody in my space, we all had a different relationship with money. And we still can do that and still be like aware of financial literacy. But that was the game changer of when I said that. And then I've been serving on boards for like over 20 years now. And I was like, there's just pieces I wanted to get like complete. So the foundation, I felt like if you are clear about like learning who you are, that's the self-advocacy, the confidence boosting, being able to know like who you're called in the world to be, that can create a career for you that you could be fulfilled in. And then the money piece.
Who are you called to be?
Who am I called to be?
Yeah.
I was called on this planet to be able to like give back, fill in gaps, component of what's missing. So I'm here to be filling in some gaps.
What I loved when we first connected, you were one of the few people that in the initial conversations about how can we collaborate, how can we build, and I feel like that's missing so much. I'll get on a call in 2 minutes and be like, oh, this is going nowhere. Versus we get on a call, I'm like, okay, we got 3 more calls because we got to connect and build.
Exactly.
What makes you collaborate and build versus tear out your territory and say, hey, this is what I've got?
Her dad's from Detroit.
Hey, the D.
You're talking about Michigan.
Have you been?
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah.
We all gonna have to go check it out.
Yeah.
Let's go check it out because they changing it. It's the collaborative, that's my style. It's collaboration. I feel like there's enough space for us all. And the collaboration, I feel like we can get further working together. We all have different connections and resources, and in our community, and community is multiple for me. I have a community, like we're going to the Clayton today, that's my community too. I have a community that I grew up with, Montbello, that's where I was raised, that's one of my communities. So I have multiple. But I feel like we are so dynamic together. Like, what you bring, we're talking about like some of the conversations I have upcoming with the CU students and being able to help impact those NIL dollars and put those monies in the right spot, or just at least be exposed to, you might have this money for a short time, not a long time. It's not forever. You got to make it count. it's like immediate. I could normally always find something. Same with you. If it's not talking about nothing, I want to be able to do business with my friends. I want to be able to build with them, people that I'm in like associates relationships with. So I just feel like there's enough space. And if we do it together, we just look super dope.
All right, let's dream a little bit.
All right, let's go.
20 years from now, where's Traillionaires, profit and nonprofit?
Yes. Ooh, I am definitely...
Wait, we got a dream. Yeah. You ready? You already
Yeah,
ready
you
to
can't talk
answer?
about what you're doing already.
Oh, no. Okay, the dream is that there is a sustainable business that is not in lack for even having to ask for the foundation. Like, I want this to be a space where I see it in a space. The dream is that people would see no reason not to have a support for this type of journey, and there will be more of these, like not only Traillionaires, but there's going to be some other ones, because Traillionaires can't just do the world alone, so we're going to need some friends to help with these areas. But the funding is on another level, where all the people who have what it takes without even thinking about it before they wake up, it's there, that has been funded. And then for the for-profit, that I've been able to just be like $100 million or more business, where it's my what's next, not my retirement, but I'm able to help other businesses grow their revenue and sales and, their strategies, and take their businesses to those same levels. So I'm the blueprint. And so I see that blueprint materializing in 20 years, where we could sit back and have this conversation all over again. And it's done.
In your studio at the penthouse on top of the Four Seasons. All right, we got it.
All right, I have another question.
Okay.
20 years from now, the business is at 100 million. The nonprofit is funded.
Should be billion.
Okay.
Ooh.
The nonprofit should be, so it could just fund itself.
What kind of watch are you gonna have?
Shoot. Okay. Patek.
Okay. All right. Here, what was your first nice watch?
Oyster, Rolly, pink. I waited a year for this.
Ooh.
I don't know what's considered. I like my Michelle. I'm a Michelle watch, and I like those vibes. But this one was like, pink is my favorite color, pink and red. And it was a statement piece and conversational piece. And I actually started getting into them with a client. I have a client, it's like 4 or 5 of them who have gone company to company. They build together. They're in the fracking oil and gas space here. And they have been CFO, COO, CIO, and then like analytics. And they have done this for 4 companies together. And so we're all out dinners all the time, and they're talking either cars or watches. And I'm just like trying to learn what they're saying, because those are the things that's important. Like, we spend 15 minutes talking about that darn software. Spend 2 hours talking about everything else.
Right.
So that was like the conversation. And so those were the couple people that I sent the first picture to when I got the call.
Nice.
And they were super excited, and then tried to call him like, how are we going to get, he wanted to get his fiance one. He's like, how did you beat us? They call me the queen, the queen bee at the applications world. So
Right.
they're like, how'd you beat us? Like relationships like that. So, and then more of a collection. The reason why financial literacy on the watches, I'm going to drop this note. The reason why my financial advisor was like, no, it becomes part of your portfolio. So it's a diversified. So what I liked is, because I like nice things, I was still able to put something in that would appreciate in value. Sometimes things can depreciate, but I get to wear it. We get to, put it down. And so that changed the game for me. After that, I was like, is there anything else I could add?
Yeah.
Can you give me some more? I know
That
art.
paddock will do it too.
Yeah.
1000%.
Take us to a nightmare, because when I hear black in tech, I'm like, oh man, there's a book. And to the point where, like, even exiting football, I'm like, I don't want to do anything with tech, because I don't want to be the only one. How can you be the only one in tech? Give us a story about when you were the only one and it was tough, or somebody said something, and then what you did to go beyond it.
Yeah, I've had, several of those situations. Being the only one is standard. I brought a couple in with me as well. But just like, I've had like a client straight up, like it's me, like 2 of us and the client, and they have not talked to me like I wasn't in the space.
Wow.
Just literally only talked to.
Hey, this is what this means.
Right.
And you're like,
and very clearly, right? So, like, the proving of yourself or being able to be like, like, I'm not here to try to do that with them, but like, it's definitely been in situations where it's been called to just straight disrespectful, straight disrespectful.
How did you handle those situations?
For me, I brought out some things because it was like the leadership was there. And so I feel like when I bring someone to the space, I feel like we both should have a role. Like, you guys are playing off of each other. Everyone should have a space and role. So when I bring someone into a meeting with the client, I'm like, this is my role, this is your role, type of thing. I just had to come in and just like bring some things out that we didn't talk about, that we didn't plan for, to just really credentialize myself in the moment and really bring some things that made him question and have to come back to me and want to know more about that. And then I'll do a little give and I'll take some things away. You're slightly on punishment, but not really. But I'm just going to take a few things away because you're really going to have to like respect this space. Like, I've earned the right to be here more than earned the right to be here. And so for me, it's just, it becomes in the moment because I don't go in expecting it, right? I bring conversation starters and stuff like that to the space. When I see that that's where it's going,
What's it sound like then when you credentialize? Like, you say, well, for the past 15 years, we've done this for a client. Like, what does that sound like?
I start bringing out examples of uber creative deal structuring, of things of impact for clients that the person with me doesn't even know about. Because in that space, you're constantly changing leadership, like every year, every 2 years. I've had a challenging situation with a leader who wanted to muffle me. Like, they don't want me to talk, like literally, like, I'm going to be on everything with you. Like, I'm not good enough to be in the space. And some of it's cultural too, because you can imagine what some of the backgrounds are in tech. And so with those pieces, I've learned over the years and grown into staying silent in situations when it's needed and observing. But when I have the opportunity, a credentializing really is going to be on something that the other person doesn't know about. Not like degreed up. It's more like, this is what kind of impact I was able to make for such and such. We did a couple of these things and only give them a little bit of it, enough for them to be curious to want to go into more. And so those are what I do with the client. With the leadership, it's challenging because they control so much. I hate when people try to impact brands and stuff like that. I think my biggest pet peeve is someone trying to speak on my name incorrectly and paint me into a picture that's not real. But we all have to go through things like that, or, just challenging situations. So I stay consistent because I have to be me. Everybody else is taken. So go ahead and try to duplicate the person you're describing, because she's not here. That's not me. It's not a perfect ending. Those are always situations that you can't really tell someone specifically what to do. The baseline is don't try to be defensive. I'm not going to try to oversell who I am. I'm not even going to try to sell it. I'm just going to drop a few things to let you know. And then you'll eventually come back, and sometimes they don't, and it's just not a fit, and it's okay. And then shift it to someone who it is a fit for. But those have been rare, very rare, when I'm not able to win a customer over to let them know that they're in good hands. Yeah. They're I have their best interest at heart. And your best interest is me doing something that's more creative for you, not doing the standard of what the company, because that's why there's such high turnover in the space, and I could stay in the space year over year, because I'm not going with those standards that y'all are rolling out. I've created my own blueprint, and I've worked on that, and I've just stayed consistent to that. And that has been consistent for me. That's the best thing I could tap back into. And so if it doesn't work, sometimes the next year that person's gone. And I'm like, okay, thank you.
Last question for me. What is the leadership advice that you would give your younger self coming out of college?
Coming out of college, I think sometimes younger, we shift to the style of what other people like. It's easier to be influenced. And it's okay if you're still learning who that is. But coming out of college, there's just being swayed by different people. But really, you knew who you were. Should just stay with her. So I'd say whatever's strong conviction into that. And
that's so hard.
It's so hard because everybody wants to tell you what to do. Like,
Yeah, you want to be cool. I want to
should-
fit in.
You should. I know, and it really is hard. And then there were just some things that I had to develop younger. Like, my mouth was a little bit more fiery, you know. It's calmed all the way down, like, from a perspective of, like, professionalism and work. Like, I was feeling like I needed to be more defensive. Like, I feel like we don't have to do that anymore. Like, you could just be the example. So, you know, those learning things help to make me who I am now. But there are some things earlier in my career I'm like, Michelle, just shut up. Like, just be quiet. Just be quiet. Lean into what you already know. Don't try to prove it to everybody. You don't need to do that. It's going to come back around.
Let's talk about this, having a successful relationship as a successful entrepreneur and business person. I mean, I feel that there's a lot of, you know, you can't have both. If you're going to be successful, you're not going to have a successful relationship. What does support look like for you and your husband on a weekly, yearly basis where you support each other so you can grow and you can be curious and continue to build?
Right. Well, to be honest, like, with when you say you can't have everything, we don't have kids. Right? We started later and ended up having some fertility challenges. And I'm cool. You know, it's a conversation I could put on a stage with 1,000 people. Like, this is real. Like, people have these conversations. But we don't have kids. But I also feel like I was called to help. So I've been able to help. We've been able to help, like, stand in the, like, gap for family members. You know, we've had several kids live with us, like either niece, nephew, cousin, while they're transitioning to get stuff right. So we like to have fun. We met in college, so we've been together like 25 years. So it's probably going to be like dancing. Like this weekend, we were on the rooftop at the house, had people here, and there's probably videos out of someone who's just nuts videos, just having a good time. And so I'm super social. He's medium social. I'm super social. So, you know, I'm dragging him to stuff that he doesn't want to always go to, but he will. So I think just like getting back to the core, like this weekend, it was like we spent 4 or 5 days us alternating cooking. He was throwing down 14 steaks and 5 salmon. And I was like, who are we cooking for? But everybody ate all the food up. So I was making sides. So different stuff, whether it's cooking, trying to create our own family dynamic. Now that my family's left, his family was never here. So we're actually retooling now to create like our new, like, how do we make our new traditions without leaning on what we already had? And how do we do that without expecting other people to fill those gaps for us? So we do date nights, we do couples, we do friends. We got a lot of friends that are mixed with, you know, single, mixed. You know, trips are always a great time. I make sure we at least get 2-3 weekend trips a year. And so, yeah. And then sometimes he just has to tell me, like, just don't book nothing. Because
It's a black day.
am always, I mean, he's not going to block out the date. He's just going to be like, just be at the house so I can fall asleep while you here. I'm like, so that's it. I mean, it's intentional. You have to keep choosing each other. I would say that's the biggest thing, is just somebody needs to be choosing each other all the time. Never perfect, but if both is great, but somebody always needs to be choosing each other if you guys want to make it work.
Wow. And then lastly, you touched on it a couple times, and thank you again for having mentees. It's so important to me. I was a big mentor guy, still am. Still somebody who benefits from mentors.
You didn't mentor me.
Yeah, stop it. I gave you a book. I gave you a book. Yeah. See? We're menteeing each other.
Right.
I think it's so easy for people who are successful to not be a mentor, to not have those informal, to start saying, okay, now my time is blocked off. What have been the key benefits for you in having mentees and being a mentor yourself?
I swear, having mentees, I learn from the stuff I'm telling them. It reminds me, like, it helps to solidify, like, oh, yeah, that does work. Okay, wait, do that again, or don't do that, right? That did not work. Like, it keeps me reminded of the journey. So that's how it helps me. For them, I've seen my mentees go leaps and bounds. I've had one of them who went from BK to a 7-figure net worth. And I was there with her for that whole journey, right? Wow. And I just think it's huge. And I think we should also know, like, sponsorship, mentorship, coaching, like those differences in corporate. And if you're not in corporate and you're an entrepreneur, create those same things within your company. Because there's different roles. And how do you lean into the one that's going to best, like, suit what you're looking for? So I'm a big proponent of mentor-mentees relationship. And our real foundation is built around mentor-mentee. So having access, being able to get someone to help, spreading the knowledge. It's really heavily built around those types of models.
Life's a team sport.
It is. Y'all know, athletes over here.
Yeah. Well, Michelle Trail, we're a big fan of yours. Thank you so much for joining us. Yes. Check out Traillionaires as well as Michelle on LinkedIn. And where can they find you on Twitter and Instagram?
Traillionaires Foundation, or just at Traillionaires.
All right.
There.
Well, thank you for blessing us and sharing time. And what an amazing success story you are, and you continue to be.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. It was awesome.
See you at the Clayton.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Gridiron and Growth with your co-host Ryan Harris and myself. Big shout out to Big Up Studios and Streamline Media for all their help with everything that we do. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. Please leave a review, and please send us any questions at the gridiron and growth pod@gmail.com.